Great. Well, thank you, Rob. As I as I see this picture, I believe this was probably taken 2.5 years ago as we were pulling into Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, would be my guess. And my name is John Seltenheim, and it's a privilege to have all of you join us today for this important museum event. We do a series of webinars throughout the year, and I believe this is our third Great Race webinar, and this time we're featuring the X Cup group within the Great Race, and this you'll pick this up through more detail in the discussion. But X Cup is the division that's specifically for students, generally high school, college, technical college participants who have a car, they participate, and you'll hear some great stories today about what it's like for the X Cup teams. I've had the privilege of participating in 5 great races, and at last count, I think it took me to 26 different states and Nova Scotia. So it is not only is there a great time being around old cars and friendly people, but you get to see a large part of the country as well. So I want to welcome everybody on behalf of the board of directors, the staff, and our almost 200 volunteers who do an outstanding job of keeping the museum running and welcoming people literally from all over the world. So it is my privilege to introduce Brad Phillips, who is the Great Race Executive Director, and he will in turn provide a little bit of background on the Great Race and then introduce Gregg, who is the president of the X Cup Legacy Group. So we've got a lot to cover, and I'll at this point be happy to turn it over to Brad.
Thanks very much, John. It's great to be here. Love the AACA Museum. Been going there for a very long time, particularly around the Hershey events every year. So it's really wonderful what you guys are doing there. The exhibits are always absolutely top notch, and really, really appreciate all the energy that you guys put into the museum. Yeah, I'm the Great Race Director. It's new for me. I've only been doing this at the helm since October of last year, so barely over a 90-day window. I have been a competitor in this event. I gleefully am wearing one of my finisher medals. I had to throw it in there. But I've been running this event since about 2008. I think on the photo on screen, that's the car I've been most closely associated with, a 1916 Hudson Speedster. This is actually a car that was built by a man named Dick Burdick, and it's been running in the race since I believe since the mid 80s, early 1990s, competitively, and actually it's won the event under a much better driver and navigator team than what I was able to provide. And the car is owned by the Stahl Automotive Foundation in Michigan. So Dan Stahl's been the navigator, I've been the driver. Look, this event is like nothing other on the planet. Even SCCA rally people, there's a certain amount of, they say, time, speed, distance rallying. This is time, speed, endurance. You don't have no idea what distance you're covering. You're using stopwatches, specially calibrated speedometers in your 1974 and earlier vehicle. And it's absolutely unbelievable the distance that we've traveled. John mentioned he's been through 26 states. I've done, Lord knows how many states through this. And you end up traveling on not just the back roads of the back roads. So we're basically chasing Amish buggies across the country in many places. And it's just the most fantastic thing you could ever do in a vintage automobile. We really, really love the experience. The slide that you see up here, this represents the race that we're going to execute in June, and we're celebrating the centennial of Route 66. What an incredible milestone to be involved in. And we're an official centennial event. We're going to cover 2,400 miles or so from Springfield, Illinois to Pasadena, California. I realize we're truncating Route 66 slightly, but our event really works best on roads that aren't piled up with a lot of other traffic. So we try to start and get out in the middle of nowhere as much as possible. And we've been on Route 66 before. We've been in almost every state you can imagine, probably every state, I would say. And in the earlier days of the event, even in other countries. We've been to Canada. As we mentioned, we finished in Halifax several years ago. That was my first international experience, but they've run from Mexico up into Canada before. Now it pretty much you run east west, and then the next year you'll do north south, and we kind of move it all around the country so people have the same sort of experience. So this is all really exciting. It's really good. But what we're here to talk about, a subset of our 150 teams roughly that do this event every year are part of the X Cup. And the X Cup Legacy Foundation, which you're going to meet Brandon and Mallory and others and the other student drivers, this is specifically built. Oh, let's
X
just
Cup refers to the student.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. We'll pause it until you're ready.
Hey, I'll take a video. This is this is
No,
great.
it's
Live
great.
fire exercise always.
Yep.
But so the X Cup Legacy Foundation is really meant, it's for student teams, and we usually run 10 or so student teams. It promotes this incredible work ethic, promotes the love of the hobby, a spirit of competition, all these really, really great things that Brandon and Mallory can talk about, as well as some of the students here. So it's a foundation all to ourselves. We really, really love that. And we're hoping that you learn an awful lot about it today from everybody. So if you want to roll the video, now you're going to get a live
Division of the Great Race, a cross-country vintage car rally, which was started in 1983 in part to pay tribute to the original 1908 Great Race from New York to Paris. The Great Race, unlike the name implies, is a rally, not a high-speed event. It is a fierce competition of endurance, precision, and accuracy. Following precise instructions that detail time, speed, and navigation, teams work together to arrive at the finish line at an exact time each day. Speeds are carefully regulated to 5 miles per hour under the posted 2 model year or older. The X Cup division is designed. Drivers must be 22 or older and navigators must be 21 and under. Often, faculty advise it takes patience, perseverance, and most importantly, teamwork to win the X Cup division. Develop automotive and rally skills, they create friendships and build character as they prepare their cars and compete together as a team. The X Cup, well as mentors and teachers to immerse themselves in team building, problem solving, and collector cars, all on the tremendous stage of the Great Race.
Okay, back to you quickly, Brad.
That's great. I love that. All right, I think what we're going to do next, I need to introduce Brandon Gregg, who is the president of the X Cup Legacy Foundation. Brandon, how you doing?
Oh, I'm here. I'm enjoying my Saturday. We're not expecting a snowstorm like you, I don't believe. So hopefully a little better off, weather I can actually get out and drive in. So as Brad alluded to, my name's Brandon Gregg. I've been involved in this whole great racing thing, whatever you want to call it, since 2017. I've raced with the same team my entire career, and we're a 2-car team. Christian Lauber, who you'll see in that middle photo there, he's been my driver since day one. And that what you learn about the Great Race is that's incredibly important to have that type of consistency, because there's a trust factor that goes into this whole thing. And so Christian and I have been doing it so long together that we actually had a very, very close race in 2022, which is that bottom left photo you see right there, where there were 3 teams really kind of running away with the sportsman leg of this. And so you'll see us along with our dear friends. And then the third place car that you don't see, but it's okay that you don't see them because they're on this call with us today. That's Brad Phillips that you just met. And so we've been deep into this competition thing before. We've got stories on stories that we could share about hilarious things that have happened. But before we dive into the X Cup stuff, I want to lighten the mood a little bit and just tell one of the double-edged sword side of what the Great Race is. And so, as you all know, we do this whole thing in June, and June is not cold across anywhere in America. And so we do a lot of very, very hot events. And so one of the things you'll hear everyone repeating is, hey, hydrate, 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 hydrate. That's super important. Except the fact that you're locked in a car for hours on end in that blistering heat. And when you hydrate, nature calls. And so you've got to figure out what's my balance between hydration and not getting heat exhaustion and not pulling over while on the clock. And so that's just one of the fun things that the race brings about in you, and can create those awkward moments with your driver in the car. But that brings me to my last point on my personal racing career of I am a navigator. I think most people on this call would agree, I've got the hard job, right? The other guy is he's just a pedal pusher. They don't do anything hard. In all reality, it is a very competitive event, and something that we're excited to be able to bring and help the youth understand, and these students, and give them the opportunity to go out there and have these experiences, get out there and create those stories that you're going to tell for the next 50 years. It's something that we're very prideful in, and being able to help provide that opportunity.
Now, Brandon, you and I have been fierce competitors for many years, although we were, different groups, different class. I think when you're talking about you're in sportsman, you're now have moved up, right? Aren't you an expert class now?
Aren't you?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we that year in 2022, Christian and I did get the opportunity to move up to the expert division, and I believe Brad, you moved up the following year, if I remember right. So there's not as much of a class divide there as you would lead on. But to circle back to the X Cup side of things, there's a couple of really important things. We are not the first organization to go out there and try to provide this service to the Great Race. There's a lot of organizations previous to us that have done a wonderful job, but we felt like there was one key thing missing. We wanted this endeavor to be led by people associated with the Great Race, whether that be the racers, the volunteers, participants, people that do things like create the artwork that gets auctioned off for the students. So we wanted this to be all inclusive of people that are involved, and people that understand what these students are going through, and not, and no offense to you guys, but not a board that hasn't been through the event before. It's very important to know what you're sending these students into. And so that's why this past year, we created X Cup Legacy. Myself and a few other racers, Mallory Freeman being one of them, who's on this call with me here today, we gathered together people that we knew were going to put the best foot forward, and be able to raise the most amount of money to help keep these student teams involved with this whole thing. So that's the whole point, is that we benefit the students, where we decided as a board, our board, that we weren't going to take money back. We are not paying ourselves. We are taking every dollar that's donated to us, and we're putting it straight back into the students. And with that, there comes a lot of other benefits with that, such as Coker Tire, the parent organization of the Great Race. They decided that this whole endeavor that we're doing is so important that every student's race car, they're getting 5 free tires to put on their car to prep them for the race this year. The students, they get scholarship opportunities if they're in school and pursuing degrees or trades or whatever that may be. They get an opportunity to win a scholarship with this whole racing thing. There's networking galore. You're going to hear from one of our members today who now works at Nissan as a result of what's gone on with his X Cup experiences. There's grants that we haven't decided the full amount yet, but to help further their racing experience, we provide them money right at the beginning of the race. Here's for your food, your gas, your repairs, whatever you see fit for that. We had a benefiter reach out to us and say, hey, any X Cup team that needs a speedometer, I've got it for them. Don't worry. Anyone that needs a rally clock, I've got it for them. We provide X Cup specific mentors to each and every team. Every team comes with their own mentor. And then one of the biggest benefits, and we have this coming up here in March, is any student that wants to go to Auburn, Indiana, Their hotels, their food is all going to be covered as we put on a in-person training that helps them learn how to put together charts. How do they put together their racing, their speedometers? How do you install a speedometer? And part of that is the actual race side of things. We're providing grand champion. That's a person that's won the entire great race before. Expert navigators. We're providing the best of the best to go out there and train these kids in person. So we put this whole group together to make sure that each one of these student teams gets the most opportunity possible to be successful at this, because we understand that this could impact their careers. It's going to impact their hobbies. Every person in this is an old car person. That's why everyone's on this call or watching this call today, is we're all old car people. And so that leads back to one of the points that you hear when you go to car shows, when you attend events. The old car hobby is dying. What am I going to do with my 55 Nomad once I'm gone? My kids don't want it. And that's part of the message that we want to make sure that we put out to everyone is the old car hobby is not dying. It's not dead. It's not on life support. It's alive and thriving. And we see that with each of these teams that sign up. And so we want to make sure that we bring this whole thing full circle and provide them the most opportunity to keep this old car hobby alive. That's my TED Talk.
Very nice.
So now you're going to hear from one of my partners that's helped me put this whole thing together. She's been a part of our 3-gen racing team. She raced in our partner truck. She is a previous X Cups participant. And so I'd love to introduce to you Mallory Fruin.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. My name is Mallory Fruin. I have the honor of serving as the X Cup Legacy Vice President. I grew up around cars. We have a running joke in my family that you have your birth certificate signed and then you get your lifetime membership to the AACA museum signed. And so I am a lifetime member. I actually served as the secretary for the Deep South region when I was in high school. I think we found out I was the youngest member that served on the board when I was in high school. So that was exciting. I've been to Hershey and national shows with my grandfather and my dad growing up. So yeah, very much an old car person. I will say I can't fix an old car though. So that's the one caveat is I'll be around them, I'll drive them, I'll ride in them, but don't ask me to fix them because I can't do it. But that's okay. Other ways that I participate in the hobby has become the Great Race. So my background with the Great Race is in 2013. The Great Race was ending in my hometown of Mobile, Alabama. My dad and my grandfather were on the committee that was planning all of the finish activities in the city. The city actually had a team that was sponsored that was supposed to run it. And about 4 days before that race was to start, the team announced that they had to back out of the race. And my dad, if any of you knew my dad, he was a bit of a heckler. So he was like, nope, that's not going to work. You got to figure it out. And the guy was like, well, shoot, take my spot then. And my dad was like, oh, I didn't know that was a possibility. He called me up and he said, do you want to go race in a car for 9 days? I said, absolutely not. And he was like, come on, let's think this through. And I was like, what can you offer me out of this experience? And he said, I can check 7 new states off of your list. And at that time, I had this grand dream that I would visit all 50 states by the time I was 50. So I said, all right, fine, you got me. You got me. Little caveat to that is I am actually at state number 49 and I'm only 28. So thank you to the Great Race for giving me all of these additional states. But so within 4 days, we packed up a Mustang. We just picked the most reliable car out of my grandfather's collection, knowing that if there was needed repairs, there was probably going to be Mustang parts all along the country. So just picked it up and put it in a trailer and arrived in Minneapolis, Minnesota for that race. I had absolutely no idea what the Great Race was. I was reading the instructions in the rookie handbook on the way up, and I was like, oh, I have made a massive, massive mistake. And it took me a couple of days to really get the hang of things, but by the end of it, I was hooked. I remember my first race, we got 4 aces in one day, and I was like, all right, that's it. We're doing this for the rest of forever. So 5 years later, my dad and I continued doing the Great Race in our 1964 and a half Mustang that you see in the bottom right. We participated in the X Cup division. I ended up bringing along one of my very best friends a couple of years. And then we had a foreign exchange student from Germany who extended her stay actually so that she could participate in the race 1 year with me. And then we aged out, so ended up moving up to sportsman division and participated in that for 2 years. And then after my dad passed back in 2018, took a little bit of a hiatus. But then in 2022, I was approached by the RPM Foundation asking if I wanted to switch roles and drive as a X Cup competitor. I had been a navigator through and through, but I said, yeah, I'd love to. I want to get back in the race. I knew I always would. So it was a fantastic year, and I'm really appreciative of that experience. We raced in that Mustang up on the, what is that, the second to last, the red Mustang. So raced in that for a year and then got the bug back. And so decided that I would start racing again with my then boyfriend, now husband, Jack. And I decided to bring back the 64 and a half Mustang, which was very bittersweet. We did pretty good our year. It's funny that Brandon brings up the lack of hydration and overhydration because I have had both of those experiences. The day that we actually won the entire day, I was in the middle of a heat stroke. So that's, yeah, not my best picture, but fantastic experience and looking forward to going back to Joplin, Missouri this year. And then, yes, last year got approached by the Three Gen Racing team, and they asked me if I would navigate for Pat Lauber, that is Christian's dad, Brandon's driver's dad. Had a fantastic time with that. So I have a very broad experience with the Great Race in all capacity, but very thankful for every position that I've had, and I'm especially excited to give back and serve the X Cup division because that's really where it started and where I got my foundation. And I couldn't be more grateful for it. And I'm excited for all of the ideas that we have and all the support that we're getting. And it's just fantastic. It's my favorite hobby in the world. So that's my TED Talk, Brandon.
Thank you, Mallory. And it's funny, I think she's got a stat associated with her that no other racer can even come close to. I'm pretty sure Mallory has more great race numbers associated with her name, more great race car numbers associated with her name than any other team out there. And I don't think it's a close competition.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing, Mallory. Next up is someone who's going to bring a very unique perspective, Carl Koch. Carl, I'm not going to give any spoilers. Carl, we'd love to hear your story. Thank you. Uh-oh, Carl's muted. Can we unmute him?
Unmute request sent. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah, it wouldn't let me unmute. So, hello, my name is Carl Koch. I'm the freshman motorsports teacher at Alfred State. But my first experience with the Great Race was in 2019. There's actually two colleges in Alfred University and Alfred State. I went to Alfred University and got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and then got into SAE Baja Racing, and we traveled to California, raced a car that we built, and did better than we thought we ever would. And that whole experience turned me into a motorsports person. Really, I was like, well, I like engineering, but building a car and traveling across the country to race it is way cooler than just sitting at a desk. So ended up going across the street to Alfred State to get my degree in motorsports technology after my mechanical engineering degree. And that led into doing the Great Race. So Mike Ronan had started doing the Great Race in 2015 with our Dodge Power Wagon, which is just an awesome car. And then in 2018, the truck threw a rod, and by 2019, we ended up using a 1956 Mercury Medalist instead of the Power Wagon. But But that was the year that I had graduated and I was on the team and I was ready to go back to California. Something about driving across the country to California is just, really awesome to me. Um, so that whole trip ended up being 18 days and over 8,000 miles, which was just amazing. We ended up seeing the Grand Canyon, Cadillac Ranch, the Redwood Forest. My favorite was Crater Lake, and I got to drive the car that day up to Crater Lake and back down. And then we saw Mount Rushmore and just a whole bunch of stuff, pretty much just one big circle around the United States. So that was really my favorite one, was my first one. It was the longest one that we've done so far, and there was just so much to see and so much to do. But the fun stuff happened before we even got to the start line. So we had kind of been iffy about the transmission in our tow vehicle. It's just a Chevy van. And I was like, oh, we should probably change the fluid in it. And everybody was like, no, it's either going to be good or it's not. Well, we were having lunch in Slegman, Arizona on Route 66. And one of my buddies was like, so how long do you think that transmission's going to last? And I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 more miles. And I think it lasted 6 miles. And it overheated on us and we stopped, let it cool off, got going again, it overheated again. So we made it to the next town, got our follow car, and I drove an hour and a half to get transmission fluid and some stop slip and stuff. And then we changed the transmission fluid in a just a gas station parking lot, band-aided it, and we ended up getting it to Needles, California, which was the last stop before about 350 miles of desert. So we got a hotel room there and went to A Plus Automotive, which is the last stop before that huge desert, and went on a test drive with the mechanic in the morning, and he just, that transmission was barely holding on, and I've never heard a transmission make so many bad noises before. He was, full throttle until it completely let loose. So we waited for a transmission. They got one overnighted from uh, Las Vegas, and we sent the group of all the students but me and the advisor on to the start line in Riverside, California. And I stayed back with the van, and eventually we joined them and whatnot. And that was really the biggest thing about that trip, was, having to do a new transmission before we even got to the start. But we ended up finishing the race and not really having any problems after that. So that was my race as a student. And then I went into motorsports, did some stuff, and uh, then started teaching at Alfred State shortly after. Um, so in 2024, we got a new motor for the Power Wagon, and I was, ready to go back to doing the Great Race. And yeah, we've been running the Power Wagon ever since, and it's been, pretty good, minimal problems, for the most part. We've had a bunch of cooling issues with freeze plugs blowing out and whatnot, and the kids have always ended up being able to fix it and get it to the finish line that day. And come to find out, it's because the overflow tank was a custom overflow tank, and it had a 16 psi pressure cap. And I found out last year, after more overheating problems and hoses blowing off, even with them double clamped, that yeah, those power wagons aren't supposed to have any pressure in the system at all. It's an open system. So that's why everything was blowing out, hoses, freeze plugs, head gasket, all sorts of stuff. So pretty easy fix, just modified the cap so it doesn't hold any pressure anymore. But there's always things to learn with the old trucks and whatnot. And That truck specifically, I love teaching the kids how to drive it because it's just a whole experience to drive that thing. No synchronizers in the transmission, no power brakes, no power steering, no disc brakes even. So it's something else. It's a really special truck, and I'm just really happy to be doing the Great Race still, and be a part of it. And now I'm able to have kids be able to travel. A lot of the kids have never traveled before doing this, so it's first time for them driving an old car like that, and first time traveling across the country. And I'm 3 for 3 on finishing races, and I'm hoping this year 4 for 4. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carl. I
I
think
have to comment, Brandon. I have to comment
bring
because
it.
I don't know how many people have had the experience of having a Dodge Power Wagon looming up behind you when you're in an open car, and we had completely screwed it up on one leg. I remember this several years ago, and we were going much slower than we were supposed to have been going, and they were behind us. And as you guys came up behind, Dan and I just looking at each other, going, we're wrong, or we're dead. Like, which one is it going to be? And we just accelerated on and left you guys doing what you were doing. But that Power Wagon is a really impressive machine to have out on the course. It is absolutely one of a kind. And I have seen you guys working on that thing in the parking lot at night so many times. And you're right, that is part of this whole deal. It is whatever you've got, get it to the finish line. We've had people take engines apart, change head gaskets. We've had Model A's that have been completely replaced, the engines pulled out and replacements put in. And you guys have always had this incredible spirit of keeping that thing running everywhere you could. So
Well, that's a
really been impressive.
that's a big thing for me is, a motorsports instructor. We go through the cars every time they come off track. So for me, I run our program, just like if it was track racing, endurance racing. So every night, even if we didn't have any problems, we're going to be in the parking lot with it jacked up, checking everything, nut and bolt check everything, just, getting those problems sorted before they become problems, hopefully. And then we always bring a bunch of tools and try to fix other people's cars. And in Riverside, California, we help swap out a Model A engine in a parking garage before the first day. And the students love that stuff, and I love that stuff. That's why part of the reason why we're there is to be mechanics and fix the cars, and there's a lot of enjoyment in it.
I seem to remember that parking lot engine swap. Didn't another racer straddle it and lift it up off the motor mounts?
Yep.
Because they're what his chiropractor must be a dear, dear friend.
Yeah, you would not see me doing that.
Thank you, Carl. I think we can all agree that there's not many people that would even attempt to drive a diesel tow truck across the country, let alone one from the 50s. I will always say that's one of the coolest cars on the race.
Yeah.
Nobody can change my mind about that. And you exemplify perfectly some of the stories that come out of it, some of the things you get to see, and you love the program so much that you decide to make sure it continued for the other students. So thank you for all of that. Next up, we've got someone who brings the word champion to what we do. So Matt Norman has been a longtime X Cup participant and has seen his successes along the way. Matt?
Thank you, Brandon. Good morning, everyone. Brandon, you don't need to hype me up like that. I think it's just dumb luck bringing home those Eagles sometimes. But my name is Matt Norman. I race with the Stones River AACA X Cup team. We've been at it since 2017. Kind of how it all started is had a group of friends in high school all interested in old cars. To keep the story a little shorter, local AACA chapter bought us a car. We all kind of didn't know what we wanted and saw a 1953 Pontiac Chieftain roll across the block at Barrett-Jackson and said, that's the one. I think found it on eBay in Oregon, shipped it home, and she's been our baby ever since. Her name's Bonnie. when we started in 2017, we were super green, and quickly learned that we needed to turn the car into a race car. It wasn't going to be driving Miss Sally down the road. It needed to be beefed up to be a race car. And that's what she's been ever since. I've probably got thousands and thousands of funny stories, um, and trials and tribulations that we've experienced along the race, along with everyone else here. We've changed head gaskets in parking lots in Bowling Green, Kentucky until about 2 a.m. We've lost the keys to the car at a lunch stop in Auburn, Alabama. We've engineered a misting system for the radiator to try to keep us cool on some of those really hot days that everyone else has talked about. So there's a lot of different stories, and I mean, we could talk all day about that, but a little bit about my experience. Like I said, started in 2017. I was a high school student at that point in time. First year out of the gate, I was fortunate enough to receive the X Cup scholarship, which was perfect timing for me as I was about to head on to college to get my mechanical engineering degree. Took a year or two off for car trouble, school conflicts, things like that. And then I've come back for 3 or 4 races since then. We won. First year came in second for first year out. That was pretty impressive. We were pretty happy with that. And then ended up coming back for another race my roundabout senior year of college. Fortunate enough to win the X Cup scholarship again that year, along with that Eagle Trophy that is very coveted. So after I graduated college, I kind of got booted from the navigator seat. And as Brandon said, that's the spot to be in. I've come full circle. I've done it all. You're right. If you're in the driver's seat, you're a pedal pusher. And I'd much rather be crunching numbers than having foot cramps and going cross-eyed looking at a speedometer all day long. Any day of the week, get me in the passenger seat. So after I graduated college and I wasn't allowed to sit in the passenger seat anymore, I kind of had a full circle moment and turned into a driver. And ironically, we had 2 7th grade students who were interested. So kind of brought them up from honestly learning how to do multiplication and simple addition, and then teaching them how to race. Brandon, I'm going to pat you on the back. You helped us a lot there. But watching these kids fall in love with this hobby and this race is honestly probably more rewarding for me than any of those Eagle trophies we brought home that I got, as a navigator. So I think we've got them hooked. So I think the future is bright. We need to keep getting some more kids hooked just like that. The race has been great for me. Brandon alluded to kind of some of the opportunities and the connections that have been made. Like I mentioned, the scholarships. I've gotten it twice, which that helped push me through college. And then, I'm a car guy, so I work on the old stuff at night, and then I'm an engineer for Nissan on the new model development side of things, and I get to work on the new and improved stuff day to day. And I know we've all probably said some choice words about I'd like to meet the engineer that designed that or that did that. And let me just tell you, I'm on your side. I'm trying my best out here, but can't always control it all. So that's a little bit about me and my story. And I'll piggyback on the TED Talk thing. There's my TED Talk.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I think we can all argue with you when you said the words new and improved. It may be new, but I don't think any of us are going as far as improved. But we won't blame solely you, just partly you.
Matt, if you stick a twin turbo Nissan GTR motor in the car, you're gonna have to run straight up. You don't get a factor. Okay, you understand that in the rules?
I don't think I'll need a factor, but okay.
Thank you for sharing, Matt. Next up, I want to introduce someone who's taken this crazy car hobby and spun it around into an additional neat hobby. Desmond Gonzalez competes out of the Northeast and has really showcased his talents outside of the race car as well. Desmond?
Hi there, everybody. I'm Desmond Gonzalez, as Brandon just said. I'm a volunteer with the Owlshead Transportation Museum and their X division, and also a restoration specialist at English Auto in Searsport, Maine. So first off, what is Owlshead? We're a museum right in Owlshead, Maine. We have an extensive collection of vintage automobiles and airplanes, and they're pretty much all volunteer maintained and some even volunteer restored. So as a whole, the museum is very involved with getting youth into classic vehicles. but also into science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM careers. We actually just built a whole new edition that is based on STEM learning. So just a couple of other things. If you're ever in the area, I definitely recommend checking out the museum and or checking out our website, which has links to donate to our XCUP program and the STEM programs. But overall, on the rally, I definitely have some favorite memories. On our first trophy run day, we did have a bit of a experience. We lost a fan belt. And if you've ever seen a fan belt on a Corvair, they actually make a 90-degree bend from the face of the engine to the top of the engine. Never seen anything like it. That also took out spark plug wires and raised a bunch of other discontent, but we were able to get her going, and we kept on trucking. So probably my favorite thing from the rally, though, is just the people that we've met along the way. That's been really special to me. We met members of various Corvair clubs. Some of them drove hours upon hours upon hours just to see our Corvair. One of them even said, "I don't care what state you're in, where you are on the race, I will come help you if you need a hand." And we also met members of the Corvair Museum of America who are still helping us after we've crossed the finishing line. And then there's just other people that we'll never forget, like that one guy in Virginia that serenaded us with his trombone as we drove through some tiny town somewhere. And that one cowboy hat sporting used car salesman that also sells fireworks. And then probably my favorite other memory was we were driving through the Great Plains somewhere in Minnesota, and we just saw this huge storm coming off the horizon. And I suddenly had memories of, well, not memories, I suddenly had visions of flying cows and flying Corvairs because we were in tornado country. I was getting pretty nervous. Trash cans were flying across the road. And I turned to Jenny, who was navigating. I said, "Do you guys see any tornado warnings?" And Jenny very, very calmly says, a little too calmly, "Oh, it's okay. I watched Twisters on the plane right up here. You know, we're gonna be fine." Um, and we were. And then apart from that, driving through the New River Gorge in West Virginia, that was really special. For some reason, I have this love for classic cars in national parks. Weird connection, but it's just my favorite. But driving through those twisty turny roads in the park, chasing an Oldsmobile Cutlass, it felt like we were in an old post car. It was really special. So then on the next slide, you'll see after the rally, well, I should first say Croker Tire, of course, donated us 5 Redline tires. And Ron, who was the one of our coaches, he said, "Geez, it looks like an old Hot Wheels car." And I kind of was like, "Oh, it does look like an old Hot Wheels car." So after the rally, I decided to make all the teammates a 1/64 scale replica Hot Wheels of our little Corvair. You can kind of see that in the second picture. And just made all the stickers, did the paint just like I was painting a normal car, and made it look like a little Hot Wheels. And then Susan Norse and Peter Brown, they really helped us a lot during the rally, just through various stages. And we made them a car as well, that you can see in progress in the top left there. And then I also must add Jenny Gold, who's one of the navigators. She's an extremely skilled woodworker. And in the fourth picture there, she actually made a vase that is the back of that Ford Woody that Peter Brown and Susan Norse race, just as kind of a thank you afterwards. And then also I made one for Brandon Gregg, who's on this call. You can see his Mustang here in the last 3 pictures, kind of in progress, then fully assembled. So it's just it's been a fun little side thing now.
Thank you, Desmond. I think everyone's going to agree that that is a talent beyond what any of us possess. And not only did I have Desmond create our Mustang, I also had him create the little red truck that you see on the bottom right photo right there. I was so impressed with that work. I gifted it to our partner car, the team there. Absolutely incredible talent, and we appreciate you being a part of the race and the willingness to do that and showcase that. Super, super cool. So lastly, I want to make sure that we introduce the newest perspective. Roberto has not had the opportunity to race with this yet. So he's going to talk to you a little bit about why he chose the college that he chose, and what he's looking forward to with this whole endeavor.
Is he muted?
Let me check. Where's Roberto?
Roberto, did we lose you?
He's not listed on the call.
Well,
He is listed for me. I see
Earlier.
him.
Oh, he's not muted. Roberto S is there.
I'll tell you what, while we find him, I have some very, very fond memories of Owl's Head, and the work that you guys do up there is incredible. And we've been hosted there before. We've had a chance to see the airplanes, see all the cars, ride and drive the Model Ts, which you guys have available to play around with up there. It's really, really exceptional experience. But my weirdest experience with Owl's Head was your executive director, Toby Stinson, and one of the gentlemen that is a volunteer mechanic and archivist and all these things. They came to a hill climb event in Massachusetts that I was at, and they brought an MGB with a 351 Cleveland in it, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been a Windsor. But anyway, it was a lot more motor than that thing was supposed to have in it. And they annihilated all the course records at the event for the weekend. And they're single-handedly responsible for the change in regulations away from having a car like that clean everybody's clock again in this upcoming year. So you should be very proud of that heritage you've left behind with Owl's Head, Desmond.
So Roberto is trying to join from his phone now. He's having microphone problems, so we need to keep an eye for that to pop up. Mallory, did you want to talk while Roberto's trying to get that sorted out about what you think? You having done Route 66 before, what are you expecting out of heat this year?
For it to be really hot, Brandon, if we're speaking frankly. No, I think that Route 66 is going to present a lot of different types of issues for a lot of different cars. I think there are some teams, especially those rookie teams, that they claim to run the car, that the car is ready, but they're pulling it out of a climate controlled warehouse or garage, and they're, accelerating normally. Whereas in the Great Race, you are meant to really push the abilities of the car. You are supposed to be executing turns, your acceleration a lot harsher than you normally would in extreme conditions. One of which being the heat this year. I think that that's going to be the big kicker for a lot of these cars, is that we are going to be putting these cars into 115, sometimes plus heat for hours, and then you immediately have to go back into that car and you get it to 55 immediately. So I think that'll be a bit of a shock and a bit of a obstacle that all these cars and especially the rookies are going to have to figure out on the way. But hopefully they'll learn pretty quick. But I think that that's going to be our issue. I remember last time we were in Route 66, Lake Havasu, Arizona. I think that the asphalt clocked at like 132 degrees, where you couldn't stand in one place for too long because your tennis shoes started melting onto the asphalt. So I'm really hoping it's a little more mild this year, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
I'm wondering if everyone else is going to be playing that same hydration game that I do. I believe we've got Roberto with us now. Roberto, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're expecting and what you're excited for?
Yeah, sorry about that. Had a bit of a microphone issue. Yeah, I'm just excited for this great race. At first, I didn't know what it was about at all until Natalie, my fiance, told me about what Forest Park SCLCC is doing. Saw all their posts about it, was actually going through it while they were going through it, so it was pretty cool. Just looking at all their posts, seeing all the trouble they were having with the car, seeing how they were fixing it. It got me like really excited. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that. So I signed up for Forest Park as soon as I could. And literally my first day there at school, I was like, hey, how can I sign up for the Great Race? It was pretty much just a waiting game at that point. Got in, which is nice. I'm just really excited for all what's going to happen, all these new experiences that's going to be done, and yeah, just pretty much excited for this experience that I'm going to be in.
So, Roberto, am I crazy in thinking that you had mentioned to us that part of your college choice was based on being able to participate in this race?
Yes, it was 100% that factor. Just reading up more about the Great Race, seeing all these old classic cars just driving around, which should really be in a museum, but they're out and about driving, just excites me.
Roberto, what kind of issues are you foreseeing this year?
Um, I saw that last year they had power steering issues, heating issues. Um, Realistically, probably those same issues are going to happen again. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Roberto. I think we have maybe one more slide.
I think I think Roberto was our last speaker, Mallory. I don't think we were able to get Gladen on today.
Okay, no problem.
I'm
Well,
ex I'm really excited, Roberto, to have you out there as a first time contestant. I think that's going to be really epic, and we're going to want to get your notes after it's all done to figure out, was it what you thought it was going to be? How was it better? How was it worse? Everything, because we really strive to make this event accessible for everybody and not intimidating. We have half of our field in Great Race this upcoming year are rookies out of 140, 145 teams, which is a little more than what we're supposed to have. So it's going pretty well for Route 66, maybe a little too well at the moment. But we really want everyone to feel like they're welcome and that all the veterans are helping train you along the way and you're getting all the help from your mentor teams. So we really want to make sure that it's an exciting adventure for you, just like it would be for somebody who's a veteran in it. So I want to hear about that when you're done.
yeah, Brad, we shouldn't check in with him on day 3 when he has that terrified deer in the headlights kind of look like, what in the world did I just get myself into? We'll check in with you on day 9, and I'm sure everything will be peachy and happy.
Day 3 is the sweet spot. You've gotten over the how am I going to do this for 9 straight days, and you're starting to sort of settle in, going, all right, this is what I do every day for the rest of my life. It's a real sweet spot right there.
And then it's your job, full-time job, isn't that right, Brad?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Your passion project.
Love it. That's right. This is great. So it looks like we're at question and answer time. And I think we've got a chat going on the side. So if you're watching and you'd like to ask a question that way, that's fantastic. I think we had a question from far earlier, actually from the museum. And this was specifically for Mallory as we get started. And it was talking about particular adventures you may have had on unpaved roads, because not all the roads we go through are paved and flat. A lot of them are very twisty and windy and in many cases very hilly. And you have had one of the most unique experiences of anyone on the race. Would you like to elaborate a bit on that experience, Mallory?
Sure. Yeah. So in 2018, that was my dad and I's last year racing together. The race started in Buffalo, New York, and that was ending in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I believe it was like day 5 or 6. We were going through New Hampshire, and there was an optional segment to go up Mount Washington, which in hindsight was a horrible decision on the Great Race's part. And hopefully we never do that again. But at the time, we said, hey, the Mustang's reliable. We're going to try it. But we have a friend. They were 2 older gentlemen in their 80s, mid to upper 80s, who clearly did not want to do the race for the intention of competing. They just wanted to tour a day America, more or less. And for some reason, they decided that my dad and I were the perfect people to follow every single day. Even if they were 30 spots starting in front of us or 30 spots behind us, they would wait for us every single day and go a respectful distance off of us, but they would just follow us, which was okay. But on the day that we went up Mount Washington, they decided that they were going to follow us too. Theoretically fine until we were descending back down the mountain. And They happened to lose their brakes, which at this point there were absolutely no guardrails. We were above the tree line too, so there really was no kind of stopping obstacles along it. So we had our top down, and I heard them yell out the window, "We lost our brakes!" And long story short, they lost their brakes. My dad pointed them to a rock pile on our left, and I think that our hope was that they were going to hit it more head on, so that they stopped, but weren't quite head on. They were a little bit to the side, so they hit it. They turned on their side. They skidded. Um, Even if they had skidded and stopped on their side, would have been okay. But they came off the rock pile and landed back on their wheels, still with no brakes, of course. And they were heading towards at least 100-foot drop, potentially more. So my dad made this swift and questionable decision to put our Mustang in front of the station wagon. So that's the picture you see there. Second on the top row is our little Mustang playing bumper cars with the station wagon. Thankfully, all was well. They walked away perfectly fine. The car had, I mean, minimal damage, all things considered. Our Mustang had minimal damage. We still actually have the dent in where they collided. We haven't fixed it yet. Don't really ever plan to, but the fun part of all of it is that we actually have it all on video too, because my dad would run GoPros. So we have the audio, and you really get
Not
the
to interrupt you, but I have that video. If you are not too traumatized by it, I can show everybody.
you have. Oh, okay, sure, why not? All right, I'll just
Yep,
plug my ears.
we'll do it. Okay. The sound should not come through. So try this.
It's coming through. All good.
No brakes, without brakes. Go, 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 go. There's one up there. Oh my God, he doesn't have brakes.
So this is the dash cam from the Mustang.
It's gonna hit. He's gonna hit. Oh my God, Daddy. Oh my God, Daddy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, 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 no. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Call Jeff. Get him out. Call Jeff. Oh my God.
There you go.
Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Call Jeff.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the classic stories from the Great Race.
It was.
It's funny to see in that moment the difference in the fight or flight that my dad and I had, where he was calm, cool, and collected, and before we even collided, he was saying, "Call Jeff." That was the director, and I did exactly that. As soon as we got out, I called Jeff and I said, "Hey, Jeff, we just had an accident," and he figured that it was 30 minutes ago that we were up on the record. And he was like, "Well, okay, where are you? Are you good?" I said, "Oh, it literally just happened." And he was like, why was I number one priority? But everyone was fine. It's a story to tell, but very traumatizing in the moment. So
It's an incredible example of the self-sacrifice that competitors can have, and you guys really embody that. No one's ever forgotten it. It's unbelievable. I haven't actually seen that video in quite a long time, and it makes your heart pound.
Yeah.
If you've ever been up and down Mount Washington Auto Road, it's no joke. There are a lot of warnings about brakes and testing them, and this is something that happens from time to time. And they were very, very lucky, very, very lucky. So,
All right. Thanks for sharing that, Mallory. It's kind of a famous thing. I don't mean to traumatize you with that, but we just appreciate you. We have a question here from the museum. Mr. Ray Wachowski's here.
Hello, I'm Ray Wachowski. I'm the chairman of the Education Committee. First of all, John, thanks for coordinating this program. It's very interesting. My first experience with the Great Race was when it was I stopped in Gettysburg. I think it was last year, and it was really cool to see the cars come in. You have it? They have me on.
You can just leave that on the table.
Okay.
We can hear you, Ray.
Okay, all right. Shut me off if I talk too much. Anyway, the experience in Gettysburg was awesome. I'm an antique car. It's in my blood. I love the cars, the smell, to drive them is just such an experience. to watch the shined up ones on display in Hershey is one thing, and watching them drive off of the field there. But to see the great race cars come in, that you're really using those things, and it's just impressive. And first of all, Mallory, I want to thank you for not using any swear words when that accident happened there. You handled that quite well. So you must have a very good upbringing there. Many other people would have said a couple things.
Well, I was thinking of that for sure, but thank you.
But anyway, I thank all of you for participating, and many of your stories could be really cool if they were like a video of them, and it might be a future program for our education committee down the road. So just think about that. And again, I thank you all for putting this thing together today.
Yes, thank you so much, Ray, for those kind words. I know one of our initiatives this year with the X Cup Legacy Foundation is we're really trying to bring a lot more awareness to the students across the board of within the race itself, and with events like this one where we're just want to get the word out there about what these students are doing and ways that that they're helping the population and how y'all can help them. So thank you.
We got some other questions out there.
This is John. Yeah. So I'd like to find out from Desmond just a little bit more. I think in my participation in the Great Race, we've been to the Owl's Head Museum twice. And this last time I ran into your coordinator for the all the STEM programs and the education activity. Would you mind saying a little bit about that? Because it's fascinating, and it's maybe something that we can learn about reaching out from an educational standpoint.
Yeah, of course. So if you've ever been to the museum, you might remember the part of the wing that had all the race cars. I can't remember the exact name for it, but part of that, and then a whole new edition has been built that has programs like they just did one on how to read a wiring diagram on a classic vehicle. Just a lot of stuff for not even just for the youth, just stuff that adults join in as well. But we also do offer classes and programs for youth, like basic engine maintenance, just some engineering things as well. And I do believe that Ron Kobeck, who is kind of the coach of one of the coaches of our team, is on this call. If he could be unmuted, if possible, he could probably chime in a bit more than I can. But all these different programs that the museum does offer for STEM education, there's a whole lot of information about them on our website. But it is really really great to see the whole wing just being built recently, and everything that's being done. So it's definitely very, very cool.
Yeah, it was impressive when we stopped there the last time. Thank you.
Brandon, if you can hear us, you're unmuted now. You can chime in.
Well, I had nothing to chime in on. I just wanted to be ready in case Brad started talking smack about that 2022 run we had together.
Look, we've got another competitor, Ken Creary, who's out there, who has asked a question. Is there an effort to expand the number of X Cup schools and teams? If so, what can we do to help?
So I'll take that one on, and I'll tag team it a little bit here with Brad, but expansion is hard. We're working on it. But the Great Race and Coker Tire are generous enough, as we lead this organization, to what I'll call donate 10 X Cup team spots to that. And I believe we had a slide showcasing the X Cup teams in there as well. So we get 10 total slots to fill. Now that sounds easy. Hey, let's just expand that to 20. But what we need to remember is there's a dollar value associated with that. And then there is the organizations that then also have to coordinate all of that on the back end. So we are expanding, but we're doing it in a little different way. What we're doing is we're expanding the participants that are on each of the teams. And so right now, each driver gets to drive a couple of days. Each navigator gets to navigate a couple of days. They swap in, they swap out, they swap stories. And so right now what we're doing is our expansion focus currently is on how do we give the current students the most amount of opportunity? How do we give them the most amount of exposure? How do we get them in front of the most influential potential future employers or people? Or what can we best do to help shape their future with that? So, multifaceted question gets a multifaceted answer. We are expanding, not the quantity of teams, but the quality of what their output can be. In order to help, Mallory's going to cover that here in a few minutes. There's a number of different ways you can help, from item donation, car donation, monetary donation, to reaching out to the teams, providing them what they need, reaching out specifically to the teams to sponsor a team if you want to be able to help in that direction. So there's a couple of different ways to help out with that, and Mallory's going to cover that in a few minutes. Brad,
Yeah,
anything to tack on?
Nicely done. And yes, you're right. There are, out of the 130 to 140 some teams that we do, you're right, allocating 10 of them. It's a big effort, a really big effort to do this. It takes an enormous amount of coordination, and we're really proud. And it could not be happening as smoothly as it is without what you and Mallory and other board members are dealing with on this thing. My hope and what we've seen is that people move through our ranks. They start off in X Cup as rookies, they learn, they go on, and they bring new members in. So there's always fresh blood coming in and through, and these people actually move on and do it. I'm very proud to say that, even though, because of taking over as director at the end of last year, I can no longer compete in the event. Jack Pontius, who is a previous X Cup driver, has taken my spot driving that 1916 Hudson, because he's grown up around Hudsons and it made perfect sense for him to slide into that spot and help the stalls with that car. That's an incredible example of a new legacy that's being created from X Cup, from an X Cup interested young person and moving through. So I want to see more of those stories. I want to see more of those people being salted out into teams and become experts and sportsmen and maybe grand champions.
Hey, this is Rob cutting in. Mr. Lauber had a question for Carl about what you're actually looking for in students as navigators or drivers specifically.
Yeah, so pretty much at Alfred State, we have a really big automotive branch. We do automotive technology. I do motorsports. We have auto body and heavy diesel as well. So we have almost a little over 200 automotive based students. And pretty much at the start of the year, I put out the word like, hey, if you don't know, which they really always know, we do this thing called the Great Race. And if you're interested in old cars and, taking a cross country road trip, then get a hold of me, let me know, and I'm going to, pick a team from the people that reach out to me. So currently, I have the most interest usually in my motorsports kids. And then I just take whoever has, the best grades, also likes, old cars, because some of them don't really necessarily like old cars. They just want to go on a road trip. But, I got to pick people that really have a passion for old cars. So, I gauge their passion for old cars, how well they're doing in school, and kind of pick from the best of the best of what we have in those areas to create a team that's, going to be self-sufficient, because I can't really help them too much. The When the day starts, it's on them, It's on them to fix the car, and I need to pick, kids that are going to be capable of fixing it. Like when we had two freeze plugs blow out coming into Binghamton uh, the year before last, and one of my kids that was in the car, he popped the one back in, but the second time it blew out and they couldn't find it. So he went and knocked on some random guy's door and was like, "Hey, we need a freeze plug about this size. Could you give us a ride into town so we can buy one?" And he got a ride into town, bought one, installed it with some coolant, and drove it in, and didn't have to get picked up by sweep. So, having kids that can think on their feet and fix stuff and be willing to do that, is another big part of who I'm trying to pick to be on the team.
Thank you. We also have a question that I at the museum share from Christian Lauber as well about what do you see most of in X Cup and Great Race? Do you see restored cars? Do you see stuff that's custom built for it? I think I have an answer, but I'll let any of you answer this.
So I'll cover on the X Cup side. It depends on the team. Our museum teams love to bring one of their floor cars out, I think is what they're called. Pull one right off of the floor. And while that sounds lovely, a lot of times that rubber's been sitting for a long time. You don't want to be finding out that your museum car had an issue 2 to 3 days in the race. And then we also have a current year X Cup team, and I'm not going to put them on blast. On blast isn't even the right word, but they're legitimately fabricating a metal floor right now for their Mustang. It is in pieces and parts, and they and their students are fully assembling this thing from the ground up. And anyone on this call that's ever done that before, you're clinching a little bit right now as well, because that's going to come with its own series of issues. And then we have people that just use their daily drivers. And so on the X Cup side, we see it all. We see it all. The best thing though is when it's the students that do get to build it, and they spend the time repairing it and preparing it, because to Carl's point, when you are a couple days in and that freeze plug blows out, they'll know how to fix it. And it's not a new issue to them. It's not a new car to them. It's not something they've never seen before, because they're the ones that put it together. And that's the best thing that we see. And then it's even cooler when those same kids are in the parking lot at the hotel and you see them swapping an engine in a car or swapping a transmission in a car, which we've seen multiple times. We've watched racers donate an engine. The X Cup kids go and take the engine out of the old car, install the new engine. They do all the test runs. They do all the leak down, shakedowns, and everything. It's pretty incredible to watch. But the vehicles themselves, they're all over the place. It's 100% dependent on the group you're working with.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I mean, our rules state it can be a 1974 and earlier vehicle. And there are a lot of different rules on what class you run in, what your time factor may be. If you're running I think we had a 1911 Veely, which actually won the event more than once several years ago with the Sharps when they were running that car. They've since moved to another 16 Hudson. There are two or three of them in the race these days. Those are pretty stock in configuration. They may be made up to look more like a Pikes Peak hill climber or an Indy Speedster or something like that. But the core of them is original chassis, engine, non-synchromesh transmission, all those great things. But we've also got things as we have 1957 LS powered Chevrolet Bel Air with vintage air conditioning. And that car, because it's got a modern driveline, does not get a factor on their year. Matter of fact, they're scored straight up like they were running a 1974 or anything. So there's a lot of different things, but we really enjoy the variety that comes into these things, whether it's originally powered or kind of a resto mod or whatever. But all we can really care about is that it's safe, that it's fun. It can handle speeds of 50 to 55 miles an hour. Those are the highest speeds that we'll have in competition. Little hint, this year for the Great Race in 2026, I believe is going to be the first time that we've had timed runs using over 50-mile-an-hour speeds. So 5 miles an hour may not sound like a lot, but it's a different way to calibrate. It's a different way to think about what you're doing in the car. And it's going to be interesting to mix that up a little bit and maybe help some people on some of these longer transits as we go across the country to Pasadena, like the across the desert in many places where there's not a lot going on. So we really relish a lot of variety. We even got a chain-driven car that comes on it. The Wandering Troubadours of Finland, that we love so much. Jerome Reinen Esquire and his merry band of racers. These guys leave every morning with their zip up tunics and goggles and stuff, and by the end of every day their backs are just covered in axle grease and chain grease. It's really, really hilarious to see. And the hotter the weather, the more viscous that stuff is, and the darker they get. They look like they just came out of an oil derrick by the end of the day. So it's really, really exciting. So a ton of variety of cars. And I think that's why we get so many people interested in seeing us all these stops. We publicize this across the country, lunch stops, hosted cities, dinner adventures. We call a parc fermé, where there's a car show in every town we go through at night. These all really bring out thousands and thousands of spectators in every town, and because they all want to see this rolling museum exhibit of all these crazy cars. So it's just an absolute ton of fun.
Just to tack onto the back of that, one of the coolest things that we didn't get to touch on was when you do pull into these towns, the kids aren't standing 10 feet back from each of these cars. You're chain driven, the Alf, the American LaFrance, that he was alluding to. You're going to see kids up in that car, sitting in the driver's seat, playing with the buttons, and you'll look at mine and Christian's car, and you're going to look at our A stickers and go, "Holy crap! These guys don't know how to put an A sticker on their car. They're all crooked and everything else." No, we let the kids put them on. We grab a kid from the audience, they go up and put them on. That's the beautiful thing about everyone that does this, is they're not telling people, "Hey, stand 5 feet back, don't touch my paint." We're all out there to do exactly what the cars were made to do. That's drive them, enjoy them, and let other people do the same.
Yeah. How many pictures do we all have of kids popped up in those cars getting pictures with their parents and grandparents? It's super fun.
My favorite is the kid in the blue speedster who is just absolutely losing his mind. I think we had it in one of the early slides, but there's a young man that can't be older than 4 or 5 years old, just screaming at the top of his lungs out of it, pure enjoyment, as he sits in a blue race car, a blue speedster.
Yeah. It's great. Well, and you got a slide here talking about impressions and all these things. We try to not only make this an attractive and fun thing for people to see while they're on the race and doing the race, but obviously everybody spends a lot of money with making sure that all the socials are going out. So we really share the message about what we do, not only just Great Race, but X Cup all over the world. Because we have teams from Japan, from Canada, from Mexico, from England, from America. So it truly is an international competition, and we really, really love that.
There's the picture of that young man on the bottom right.
There you go. Yep, he is living the dream right there. That's awesome.
With a few minutes left to go, this might be the ideal opportunity for Mallory to share a little bit more about X Cup Legacy.
Sure. Yeah, I think just want to round it out by thanking you all for taking the time to listen about X Cup in general, about our legacy's mission, and the ways that we're trying to give these students an impactful experience and keep this hobby alive. So would love if you all either come out on Route 66 if you live nearby, and see the team, or in the future routes, because it changes every year. I imagine we'll go back to New England here pretty soon. Would love to see you along the routes. But in the meantime, you are able to follow us on all forms of social media that I can keep up with. I will say I'm not the most social media savvy, so I'm learning that, adding that to my resume. But we do have a website. That's the xcuplegacy.org. It has a little bit more about us as an organization. We actually have a merchandise store. So if you are interested in having any X Cup Legacy specific items, we have a decent amount of options right now, but looking to add here sooner than later. Brandon is doing a fantastic job walking the runway for us.
With them called Vanna White.
Something like that. So you got that. We have some more stories about some of we call them the legacies, but some of our success stories and former competitors and current competitors on our website. And then we have our Instagram page and Facebook page. I am the social media manager, trying my best at it. Not too good at it, but I try to post regularly. Right now, we're doing an interview series with both our legacy board and then with some of our current, past, and future students that we're releasing every week or two or so. I'm trying to get their names out there and get a little more awareness about them. And then if you do want to, or you feel inclined to donate, we are in the process of obtaining our 501c3, so tax deductible. We are fully a nonprofit. We do not have any kind of overhead fees or management fees. It is just Brandon and I taking the time out of our days to give back to this organization. So there's a QR code there. Another unique kind of deal that we do is a silent auction at the beginning of the Great Race. It was kind of just an idea that Brandon and I came up with on a random Tuesday afternoon with only about 3 weeks notice of what if we do a silent auction? It's a little different. And it was wildly successful, more so than I think we even expected it to be. We got 3 different types of trips. We got different types of memorabilia from former great races back even into like the early 80s when the whole thing began. We got alcohol, apparel, all sorts of things. So that's one of those things that because of its success, we're going to keep doing this year, hopefully a little bit more organized and well put together, largely because of our other board member that I see on the call, Alicia Iddings. She is wonderful at this. So one, thank you for being on the call, but helping out with that. So if you are interested in donating an item, it doesn't have to be Great Race specific. You can reach out to ourselves, myself and Brandon or Alicia. Would be happy to take whatever you're willing to give. But yeah, thank you all. This has been a blast.
We're going to let John Seltenheim thank everybody for being here. Take it away, John.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. But in particular, thank you for participating today, to all the speakers, for all the great work that Brandon, Mallory, and others have done to bring X-Cup Legacy together. For Brad, for his new leadership of the Great Race, and looking forward to all that he's facing, but know that he'll do a great job. And finally, to all those who've participated, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. And we hope that you'll visit the museum soon. And in particular, if you're in the Midwest or Far West, that you'll stop by and see the Great Race as it covers and goes across Route 66 in June. It's always, as Brad mentioned, thousands of people show up, whether it's lunch or dinner at the various stops. And it's always a great time to stop and see the cars and talk to the drivers. So we hope that you'll do that this summer. Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekends.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you.